Now look, I don't know how true the title of this video is, but you know, during the whole Diddy trial, I was wondering if Cassie had already told her husband about the things that was going to come up in the courtroom, or was all this stuff going to be surprising to him? And then after the trial, you had a lot of these workers that were talking on podcasts and on shows and stuff, explaining how, uh, like Cassie would hit them up. They were given a lot of explicit detail on what was taking place during those freak offs with them and Cassie and Diddy. And a lot of them were saying how Cassie was, again, reaching out to them like for one-on-one sessions. Now, I don't know how true that is. I'm just saying what they were saying. But going by this title, Cassie's husband cries after court exposes Cassie's several bodies, slept with 10 plus men. Now, I feel like anybody, man or woman, when all of this stuff is being exposed about your partner, it's not going to sit well. No matter if they told you or not, just kind of hearing it, and you start to get visuals. It makes me think of the movie, what was that? The Best Man, with Morris Chestnut and Taye Diggs, how he was up there saying the vows and he kept getting flashes of Taye Diggs with his girl. But I give Cassie grace because of the physical part. Seeing Diddy put his hands on her, didn't sit well with me and a lot more people. But you also got to remember, she was hella young when she started. So I think mentally, she was probably always in freak off mode because of what Diddy was having her do, you know? But we ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's jump right into it.
Girl, Cassie's husband, Alex Fine, is going through it right now, and the recent courtroom revelations aren't making things any easier. After Cassie got exposed and sued by one of the freak-off escorts, details came out about Cassie's past relationships, some of which he may not have known the full extent of. Reports are saying she was involved with several men before their marriage, and while that alone isn't
And because I don't know if they're gonna say it here, one dude said that he got her pregnant. Another dude said that he got something from her. I might have to edit that out if they talk about it, but yeah.
shocking, the way it was presented in court caught a lot of people off guard, including her husband. Word on the streets is that Alex is not taking this well, and it seems like the weight of it all was hitting him hard. The streets are saying that Cassie allegedly got exposed for sleeping with more than 10 men, and now fans are clowning Alex for sticking with her. But why is this coming out now? And why are fans saying that there's a plot to take Cassie down? And does this mean that Cassie and Alex's marriage is in trouble? Let's get into all the details. Now, this situation is kind of sad because Alex has been standing 10 toes down with Cassie since she filed her lawsuit. He stood down with her 10 toes down during the trial with Diddy, and when fans tried to make him out to be her savior, he shut that down real quick and praised Cassie for being bold enough to break free of the control Diddy had on her. He said, "I did not save Cassie, as some have said. To say that is an insult to the years of painful work my wife has done to save herself. Cassie saved Cassie. She alone broke free from a coercion and threats. She did the work of fighting the demons that only a demon himself could have done to her, and all I have done is love her as she has loved me." So what changed, and why are fans saying that he feels a type of way about that? Well, it all has to do with a lawsuit that was recently filed by an escort named Clayton Howard, aka Dave, who claimed that Cassie helped Diddy victimize him during their freak-offs. What makes this different is that Dave is claiming that Cassie was Diddy's co-conspirator, while the federal trial made Cassie look like the victim. For example, while she was being cross-examined by the prosecutor, she admitted that Diddy would force her to do freak-off. Dave's claims in his lawsuit paint a different story from what Cassie and the Fed said during the trial. According to him, the fact that Cassie was the one who hired and paid the escorts, including him, made her complicit in his crimes. And now, if you followed the
Again, going back to that, about her hiring and paying, it was alleged that she was using Diddy's money. He was controlling everything. And she was doing this to keep him happy. That's what, I it's kind of frustrating because I feel like a lot of people never witness or don't know anyone who's been in like a relationship where there's like a lot of domestic stuff going on. They don't really know how crazy that can get. So when I say she was doing this stuff to keep him in a good mood, because she said he had a really bad temper, very moody, and he could just start going crazy on her. So, I mean, you got to think about she was trying to get a music career going, you know, and people don't understand that Diddy was put in a position of power, has connections, and had a lot of control over her life. So, of course, you're going to be doing these things to keep him happy because if you don't, you see the results. It would be different if that video never existed, those photos never existed of what happens when she tries to speak out or speak up. It would be totally different. Then you would have something, you know. But I just don't know. People really, that's why I be like, people got to be trolling, man, to not understand that it's the control part. This girl was extremely young and he basically raised and groomed and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So she was trying to, the whole Kid Cudi situation, I feel like she was trying to run away with this dude. And Diddy was like, hold my beer.
Trial, then you know that Dave's name was brought up in the trial, with revelations that Cassie planned and orchestrated the freak-offs, including setting up the meets. According to report, in another message between Ventura Fine and a person named Dave, the man texted around 1:30 or 1:45 a.m. to notify Cassie he had arrived at a meeting location. Roughly 6 hours later, he texted saying, "Thanks, LOL." The meeting location was presumably for freak-offs, since that was the only business that he had with Diddy and Cassie. Now, y'all know that the trial officially wrapped up last week. Diddy managed to beat the RICO and counts, but he was found guilty on a few lesser charges. But here's where it gets interesting. Almost as soon as the verdict dropped, Dave popped up with a civil lawsuit of his own, and let me tell you, he was ready. It's clear he was just waiting for the dust to settle before making his move, and when he did, he didn't hold back. His lawsuit dives into some heavy allegations, and Cassie ends up right in the middle of it all. The way Dave tells it, Cassie wasn't just a bystander in this whole situation, and the image of her that came out during Diddy's trial gets complicated real quick. With Dave's civil suit adding a whole new layer, people are starting to look at things differently. His version of events puts Cassie in a far more complex light, and it's raising a lot of questions about what really happened. This complication makes it even harder for Alex Fine, because the streets are saying that she is not as innocent as she had us thinking. According to Dave, Cassie was not forced into the freak-offs because she loved it and willingly participated in them. According to him, he started doing the freak-offs with Diddy and Cassie around 2009, and they allegedly him for commercial purposes. In an interview, he said, "To me for the purposes of commercials, using me as entertainment to satisfy their fetishes and personal ambitions." He also claimed that Diddy and Cassie manipulated and traumatized him while they themselves engaged in a toxic, domestically abusive relationship that often became. He says Cassie manipulated him. He also claimed that Cassie allegedly enjoyed the power she had during those freak-offs, especially when it came to directing and bossing around the escort. According to him,
I feel like both things can be true. Literally what he's saying could be 1000% true. And in the same sense, that's what I believe was happening to her. You know, it's not too hard to see this. You know, again, the co-conspirator was KK, Katrina Korm, the one who didn't testify. That's the one that they should have got. Cassie was trained. I'll just say that. I won't say the G word. I'll say she was trained to do this stuff. You know, and going back to the husband, because I don't know if they're going to talk about it. I know it got to be difficult to try to go places. You know how people say, man, this girl is for the streets. You know, if you guys don't know what that means, they're just saying like she's for the streets, she's for everybody. Like basically she'll sleep with anything that got legs. It's a lot of cases where there are women that are like that. But what I'm saying is how many of them are actually getting hands put on them, if you know what I mean, with the domestic stuff. That's what you guys have to consider. That really literally goes hand in hand. You know, she became probably immune to it and expected it. So it was like mentally, it was like, this is what I have to do.
It wasn't just something she tolerated. He says she actually got a rush from it and fed off the control she had in those moments. According to reports, Clayton Howard alleged that the singer embraced the bad boy mogul's power, resources, and influence for the purposes of alleged manipulation. He claims this is why he kept seeing them for almost a decade, since he feared they would retaliate amid an already dire financial situation. And these accusations are only adding more fuel to an already chaotic fire. And just when you think it couldn't get any worse, it does. Dave went on to claim that Cassie allegedly got pregnant with his child at some point, and he's convinced the baby was his, and he claims that Cassie shouldn't have terminated without his consent. And according to him, he's suing because his dealings with Diddy and Cassie left him with physical and psychological injury, lost wages and benefits, medical expenses, pain and suffering, emotional distress, and mental anguish, plus loss of enjoyment of life. According to TMZ, the former escort further addresses why he's going after Cassie for monetary damages rather than criminal charges, telling us the U.S. Attorney's Office is well aware that she was a co-conspirator with Diddy, but they only cared about getting Diddy. He even accuses the government of not caring about male victims, saying it's all about Diddy, Diddy, Diddy. So it looks like Cassie is going to be tried as a co-conspirator, which means that she's going to be under a lot of scrutiny during the trial. And this is where it gets really hard, because the streets are saying that Dave's lawsuit is going to spiral into a class action. There are rumors that more than 10 former escorts are planning to join in the lawsuit and take Cassie to court for willingly helping Diddy. And according to reports, Alex is not taking it well, because the thought of 10 men coming out to talk about how they got down and dirty with his wife and the mother of his kids is not something that he ever thought he was going to have to deal with. Now, this doesn't mean that he blames Cassie or that he's going to leave her. It's more of him feeling horrified by the true nature of what Cassie had to go through with Diddy and all the escorts, and knowing that she's going to have to relive that horror all over again if the class action lawsuit goes to trial. At this point, we have to wonder if it's ever going to end, or if she's going to have to deal with this for the rest of her life. Yes. Anywho, y'all let me know what you think in the comments, and then check out this.
Yeah, she's definitely going to have to deal with this for the rest of her life. I was wondering, because remember, she got 20 million and then they got a 10 million. So I believe like 30 million total. So I'm just wondering if she had him sign a prenup or anything, because I don't know what her pockets look like before this trial. But if he does decide to leave, he's gonna get paid. He's gonna get paid, and with everything that has came out, I can see the judge granting him. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot of stuff to talk about in this. You know, with the workers, these dudes are workers. This is their job. So in my head, this is what I'm thinking. Protection. If this is your job and you're over here doing these freak offs, I'm just thinking about the other women that you have possibly came in contact with. Were you not using protection with them? How many other women were you sleeping with after Cassie? You know what I mean? Because you would think if this is your job, this is what you do, you would think that you would be using protection with all these women. Or is everybody just walking around with something? You know? Do they have cures? Are they just, oh, it's fine, we can get some, we'll take care of it? You know? All of the things he was saying could be 1000% true. He could have been manipulated. He could have been this. He could have been that. all that. But like I said, what he's claiming is the same thing I feel that happened with Cassie. You know what I mean? Because if that's the case, then if he's saying all this, that she enjoyed it, this and this, that, what was his reason for coming back? What was his reason for doing it? You know? But like I said, you cannot look past. I know people will say, oh, she enjoyed it. That you cannot look past the domestic stuff, man. People do not. I've witnessed stuff as a young kid. I've witnessed domestic stuff. And you would say, why didn't this person leave? It ain't that easy. It ain't that easy. Especially, and these are, you got to think about this. A lot of people dealing with domestic things, that happens a lot. But when you take someone who is doing this stuff and you look at them and you say, oh, this dude got power, he's rich, that makes it extremely, damn near impossible to get away. Because they have the means and resources to keep tabs on you. You know what I mean? So, was she doing all this stuff? Probably so. Was she doing it on her own? I don't think so. I think she was acting, she was performing for him. That's what I think happened. Two things can be true. But I know it has to be very, very difficult for the husband to even go and want to have dinner. Because you're going to deal with trolls, you're going to deal with people, because a lot of people aren't going to be looking at Cassie as a victim. They're going to be looking at her as like she's for the streets. How could you still be with this woman? This and this, that and that. That's what people are going to be probably yelling out and everything, especially people who support Diddy. People will yell that out, but they can't say like, you're so strong for surviving all of this domestic stuff you were going through. They won't yell that out. Appreciate y'all coming over. Please like, share, and comment below. Peace out.